everyone, welcome to Primetime Crisis. Today we're talking about the brand new Powerpuff Girls show. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm the real Manos.
And hey, look, it's a Primetime Crisis vlog that's two people. That's unusual.
Ooh, that's weird now.
Yeah, that used to be the thing. Two people used to be, I don't even know if we can have a show right now. There's only two of us.
Oh man, we're gonna call Steve right now.
But Manos and I really wanted to talk about the new Powerpuff Girls together, and we weren't sure what format to do it in, and finally we thought, well, I'm gonna probably do a vlog series for Primetime Crisis about this anyway, so let's just make this the first one. No reason to, have to redo that. So today Manos and I are going to kind of loosely talk about the new show. We'll talk about some of the episodes individually a little bit here and there, but I have seen at least one Manos hasn't seen, and I don't think you've seen any. I haven't, but I thought it would be, and again, like at least one or two have aired already that we haven't seen yet by the time this comes up. So we thought we'd talk about this kind of generally and talk about how it compares to the original and whether or not we're enjoying it, what we think of the 11-minute format and the new aesthetic and updating and all of that stuff. So brand new Powerpuff Girls. Let's get started. Manos, the first thing I'd like to open this by saying I did not expect to like this as much as I am.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No problem. I was a little leery of it.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioning that. But you're a big fan of this, and you're afraid they're going to mess it up. So I mean, it's an honest fear.
I don't want to be a purist about it, but Powerpuff Girls strikes me as a thing that there's no reason to monkey with. I don't know why this thing of all things needs to be updated. Is Powerpuff Girls outdated in some way? I don't know that it is.
Not really. No. I mean, it was a pretty classic show the way it was done. It wasn't too it wasn't too 90s, if you know what I mean. It's not like that one Nickelodeon show where they were like extreme skateboarders or something like that. No, I mean, they shot it pretty classic. They had the framework of the old Batman 66 show, which even if you hadn't watched Batman 66, you kind of get that kind of like superhero, cliche stuff. So yeah, I can imagine. But I will say that I had high hopes for the show. I wasn't impressed with the special they attempted 1 or 2 years ago or something like that.
Danced, which is the dumbest name for anything, even in Powerpuff Girls.
Mm-hmm. And I had seen some clips of it. I've seen some of the creators talk about it on Twitter. So I was thinking this could be good, especially this is one of those shows, this is one of the original Cartoon Network shows that kind of created the format that they're doing now.
Yeah.
With Adventure Time, Steven Universe, regular show, blah, blah, blah. This kind of format was built with Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, Kids Next Door, blah, and all those shows.
Really, everything that started with Cartoon that they had people vote on, and then they took them to series. They were shorts, and the only difference is that back then they would have a full half hour that would have 2 or 3 shorts, and now they just do the shorts.
Yeah, the original shows, I think Powerpuff Girls may have broke this. I know Dexter had 3 shorts and would have a mini one in between. And then the 2 main ones. I think Powerpuff Girls was one of the shows that was just half hour made of 2 shorts. They were 11-minute shorts. And that's actually not that different from what they're doing now. Cartoon Network in recent years occasionally airs episodes just as a short. Sometimes, they'll show, at 6 o'clock, they'll show, Teen Titans Go, and then show We Bare Bears right afterwards, or something like that. But mostly they air, the entire half episode. But sometimes they break it apart.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The only main difference I see with their modern shows is they don't do any in between, 5-minute episode or anything like that anymore.
And when they if they collect them later and put them on video, it wouldn't be like you have an intro and then you watch 2 episodes and then there's an outro. Because my wife and I were talking about this, and she said we should mention, of course, that also original Powerpuff Girls broke the mold because they had several full half-hour episodes, but or 22 minutes. But my wife and I had this conversation the other day, and she said, "Why?" And I'd never thought of this. She was like, "This is what that show should have been on the DVDs, like." Why wouldn't you have at least the option in the menus to watch a Powerpuff Girls episode in the middle when there's 2, so that you don't have to fast forward past one you don't like to watch one you do like? Yeah. Like they collected them on DVD the way they aired them, but they really are separate episodes. Why not have the option to watch them like that?
Yeah.
And so I do like this format a lot, because you know that when you go back to them, you'll get to watch them like this.
Yeah. My wife and I have been purchasing the season box sets of Adventure Time, and they're collected each individually, each of the 11-minute shorts. They don't show them as episodes with 2 episodes. They just strung through all the 11-minute episodes. So yeah, they kind of like they still do it as shorts. It's no real difference, but the way they present them is slightly different. So that I felt was not going to be a problem. I felt Powerpuff Girls is probably the reason why it's come back is because it seemed to me probably the easiest of the original shows to come back into the modern lineup of Cartoon Network shows. I felt it fit in really well because that was an adventure humor show, and a lot of what Cartoon Network has right now are adventure humor shows. And I'm one of the things I'm hoping for is to see. I would love to see them kind of put together a story arc.
Me too.
We haven't seen that yet from the first few episodes, but it's the first few episodes. There's, I doubt they would have done that because. Steven Universe has a big major story arc that's going on in its series. They didn't really start that until like 20 episodes in. Adventure Time took even longer to put its dots together as far as its stories. So I'm excited to see if they start doing that with Powerpuff Girls.
If they go serialized, it'll be. It will have been smart that they started this way for a couple reasons. Sorry, you talk about a lot of things, and there's a whole bunch of things I want to.
I'm sorry.
But I'll respond to that real quick. If they go serialized, it'll be smart to do it this way because you bring in fans of that old show with something that is more or less what it was, but is also a little bit updated. And when I say updated, I mostly just mean in their responding to more just modern technology and what the world looks like now as opposed to what it did then, and they have the hotline phone, but it's a cell phone now. I don't know why when they answer the hotline cell phone you never hear the person on the other end. That's a thing, right? That's weird. Like you never hear it's never the mayor, but sometimes it is the mayor, but you never hear him on the other end. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, so it's updated in the sense that we'll talk about more current stuff, and there's occasionally even a pop culture reference here and there, which that show did, but sparingly, and this show is doing that. Doesn't do subtle ones, but not like direct call outs to like here's a person, and this show's done it like once now. But I also think that it's a good idea to give us kind of a sense of the flavor of the show before we start really sinking our teeth into a storyline, because it might feel too different for people that really loved that show. And for people that have never seen it before, it's nice to be able to jump in anywhere and just watch one and go, okay, this is pretty fun. And then you keep watching it. There was something else that you brought up that I wanted to respond to. Maybe I'll think of it in a minute.
The story arcs?
Yeah, there's something before that. I don't remember. I wanted to, you brought up Dexter earlier, and I wanted to ask you, just for my own edification, if you remember I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember in Dexter's Laboratory what the 2 little shorts in between were?
There was Dial M for Monkey, and the Super Friends parody, the roommates, They were superheroes, although they were kind of Marvel heroes. They were the guy making fun of Captain America and
the guy making fun of Thor, and then the Hulk.
Hulk.
The infraggable Kronk.
Kronk.
That was Justice Friends.
Justice Friends, yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious if you remembered that. I always thought Justice Friends should have gotten its own show. That should have been.
Surprised they did.
That should have been the pinky in the brain of that. Maybe it was they went to Powerpuff Girls and they were like, we don't really need more superheroes. Oh, I know what it was. I loved your point that Powerpuff Girls is the show of the old '90s guard that makes the most sense to bring back because of the reasons you mentioned, but also. We're doing a lot of those comedy adventure shows, but they're bringing back more of the really bright colored, chipper, lighthearted stuff that Cartoon Network was missing there for a while. Yeah. And so it fits really well in that whole thing. I think that Powerpuff Girls inspired a lot of what's on right now. It fits a lot with the kind of franticness and craziness of Adventure Time, but also with the kind of pop culture fast melting pot that you have with Steven Universe. And it's we were talking about how it's not really I don't think it's really dated. It's got that like 90s techno vibe thing, and it's like really like frantically paced and stuff. That's what all their stuff is now. Or at least a lot of their stuff is that way now. But the other reason it makes sense is, I think, and I don't know like how often the heads of Cartoon Network have changed and stuff, I suspect Cartoon Network has wanted to bring back the Powerpuff Girls ever since it ended.
I get that feeling. I mean, that's what the special was all about, the one you and I don't like. It was an effort to bring it back. And Cartoon Network Japan had an anime, Powerpuff Girls Z, for a while.
But I don't think that was post the first series. I think it ran concurrently with it.
I'm not 100% if it was or not, so I can't really.
I'm not sure either. But it was on a long time. That's a 5-6 season show, I think. But the reason I say this, Manos, is because Powerpuff Girls was one, and I don't know how many other of their shows were this way, but very few of their shows ran as long as Powerpuff Girls did. And it was on 6 seasons, and it didn't get canceled. I don't know if you know this. Craig McCracken just ran out of ideas and didn't want to do it anymore. He thought it was getting stale. He said, I'm done. Let's not do this anymore. And Cartoon Network ordered a 7th season, and he said no.
Wow.
And that makes me think that they've wanted to make it ever since then. The thing I am most impressed about with really getting our teeth into this show is that it is as reverential to and as authentic to that original show without Craig McCracken. Like, it doesn't need him, and that really surprises me.
I agree. I think that's probably the most successful thing about the show is this is a new batch of creators, and they've captured, you're right, they've captured the flavor very effortlessly.
Like, I don't think he's involved. He hasn't written a script yet. His name's on it because he created it, but I don't think he's involved in it.
Yeah. And I feel like, and I tweeted this when I was like, I was live tweeting the first couple episodes, and one of the first things I thought of, was they've managed to update the show correctly. Like, it's updated enough to kind of fit with modern Cartoon Network, but they left everything that was right alone, and it's untouched, which I think is one. Show one of these episodes to a random viewer and see if they can guess if it's an old or new episode.
We've got a lag, Manos. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I got some of that, but some of it was murky.
Sorry.
I will, if anybody grew up with this show, I will disagree with you and say that anybody that watched 5 episodes of that show can tell that this is a new updated version. But having said that, it is really faithful, I think, to the spirit of that show, and the character models and stuff are much less changed than I expected them to be. And again, if the show was funny and if I really liked the script writing, I could even deal with a CG Powerpuff Girls if it was good. I mean, I don't want that, but if it's good, so I don't want to. This sounds so funny with Powerpuff Girls. I don't want to be like a purist or a prude about it. But I'm impressed that with the difference in animation, I'm liking it. Also, it's not phoned in animation, Manos. Like they there's as much effort in the like shading and shadow work and stuff, especially with some of the more complex landscapes. Like when the episode where we finally go to the mayor's office, they did a lot of work on that office. It looks fantastic. And I think that there's as much depth in a lot of the scenes of the show as there was in the movie. Like, they basically taken the movie animation and taken it to this show with some differences in stuff. Now, you're an anime guy. You probably won't have this as much as me. I don't care for the exaggerated facial expressions whenever somebody freaks out about something. I don't like that. I tend to not like it in anything that's an updated version of something. They do it in Ninja Turtles. I don't like it there. They do it here. They do this thing where the Powerpuff Girls, they have the big giant bug eyes, and they'll be like surprised by something or freaked out by something or upset, and their eyes will shift to where there's just a tiny pupil in the middle of the big giant eyeball, like you do in some animes. I don't like that. It doesn't work for this. It looks really. I don't like that. But I mean, I can get past it. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's probably more of a taste issue.
It is a taste issue. I don't like it.
I've probably seen. Let's see. There's a few episodes I haven't seen. I think maybe 3 episodes.
Oh, okay.
So you can maybe correct me on this. It seems like they've lost the narrator for the most part. The narrator pops in at the end.
He will pop up. He will pop up here and there in the middle in exactly the same way that the 60s Batman narrator would, where you would totally forget that he existed, and then suddenly that show would decide that there was a thing that you either couldn't understand without the narrator talking, or was pretending that because it's funny. This show does exactly that. You mentioned when you and I were writing back and forth together about this the other day that you liked that they got rid of the framework. If you're gonna have, and for some reason the first episode didn't have it, but the rest of them have the once again the day is saved at the end. We're doing that with all of them, but the first one. I kind of think we should. I kind of wish we were still opening with the city of Townsville, just because if you're still gonna have that at the end, bookend it. Like, why not? Because the thing is, you don't now. Most of them you do hear the narrator right at the beginning. He just doesn't say that. He'll say something. But it's not City of Townsville anymore. But yeah, I miss that formula. I don't have to have it, but it's weird that we do half of it.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. To be honest, I wish they would go a little bit further away from it.
Just not have it? Yeah. I don't need it. But it sort of feels a little half, it feels a little half done, where it's almost like, we don't know if we want to do this or not, but the purists are going to want it. And I'm just like, don't do it at all then. Like, yeah.
I think that's a good example, because also, like, the show recast the main Powerpuff Girls, but they've kept a couple of the supporting actors, for like the mayor, for instance. And I think that's an example of how the creators are going about things. They're trying to, do things classically, but also try and find something new for them to do. And I think they're trying to toe that line, like trying to figure out which way to go and try and find a balance. And so far, I think they've been successful with it. I think the more this show will go on, I'm kind of confident they will figure it out.
I have liked this show more and more episode to episode. I think it is getting incrementally better and better. My favorite episode so far is the one you haven't seen yet. And I won't tell you too much about it, but there's an episode that aired Monday called Bye Bye Bellum. And we haven't even seen Miss Bellum in the show yet. Her introduction is she's gone. It's fantastic. And some of this, I think, is even a little bit more fun if you know the show already, but it still works because they show you flashbacks with her and they show you where she is. So you see her, but her introduction is she's left and the mayor is beside himself because he's totally incompetent and he doesn't know what to do without her. And it has my absolute favorite joke in the whole thing now, so I'm a little bummed that you missed it, because I have to mention this. She goes on, she's built up too many vacation days and she has to take them. And she has to take a 1,000 consecutive day vacation.
Oh, God.
And I just think that's so funny. And then the mayor goes, And without skipping a beat, this is so original Powerpuff Girls. The writing is really good. Right after we get the letter and we get that information, he says, "I'm already starting to forget her face." And of course, if you know Powerpuff Girls, we never see Miss Bellum's face. She's the neighbor from the Tool Time show, and it's great.
It always amazed me how much mileage they were able to get.
Home Improvement.
Such a simple visual gag.
Yeah.
Always. It's like, okay, they can't possibly do another good joke about this, and then they do another good joke about it.
It never stops being funny. Every time. So let's talk about voices. First of all, let's talk about the girls, of course. You said before I got to watch it that they were already growing on you. They are me too for the most part. I totally get why they changed them. Like, the more I've thought about it, because we'll talk about other voices here in a second, but there are a couple of voices they've kept that I think actually sound a little bit too old now, and maybe they should recast them. And your Powerpuff Girls actresses are in their 40s now, probably
or 50s,
maybe even older. Yeah,
I think E.G. Daly is in her 50s.
I think Tara Strong probably could have kept up with Bubbles and not sounded any different at all, but I don't know about the other two. And what I kind of wish is that they had kept her and replaced the other two, because so far Buttercup and Blossom have completely grown on me. I like they're the same characters. They sound younger again. It's totally working. And their Buttercup is not differently characterized, but she's tweaked. You know, there's a slightly different flavor there, and I like their Buttercup a lot. And their creators of the show seem to be obsessed with Buttercup. That seems to be their favorite character. They're enamored with Buttercup. I'm not with their Bubbles yet.
Yeah, she hasn't probably had her episode yet. Hopefully, I would agree with you. I think did you see the unicorn episode though? Because that was kind of her episode. Okay, yeah, and I didn't care. We got more of her voice, and it's not growing on me yet. It's not Bubbles for me yet. That's a pretty hard act to follow.
Oh, it is, yeah. But I mean, Bubbles is a voice that you want to get in your head voice and do. She almost it's not a thing that I want to do an impression of anymore. And isn't that weird? But that's because Bubbles is my favorite character, and so I'm gonna be more critical of Bubbles. But I mean, oh man, what about the giant ant? It's just my favorite thing. I love Bubbles, and she this Bubbles, and they've aged them slightly, right? They're not in kindergarten anymore.
I feel like they've aged them a year. I almost feel like the show is a continuation rather than a reboot.
It's not, though. That's what's so fascinating about it. It's definitely not.
Really?
Yeah, because we've already had at least one episode that has redone an earlier episode in a different way. When they introduce Princess, they do the same story retooled, where she wants to be a Powerpuff Girl. And that's her introduction in the original series. So no, it's definitely a reboot.
See, well, as far as I feel with the voices, I was a little, of course, bummed out that they replaced the original actresses and kept, Tom Kenny and I forgot the actor does the professor. And yeah, once you hear the show going, you realize, I think that might have been the correct decision. One of the things I like about the new actresses is their voices, while not better, I do think they have a more natural sound to them. They sound a little bit more like kind of young kids in a way that the original actresses did not.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I just think that's just that might be, how should I say, that might be how voice acting has changed a little bit in the last few years, because in other Cartoon Network shows, they've actually gotten kids to voice kid characters. They got a 12-year-old when they started Adventure Time, and Zach Callan, who plays Steven Universe, was almost that age when he started that show. Likewise with Gumball and a couple other shows. So that might have sounded a little bit more jarring if they had done it that way. I will agree. I guess the thing is, maybe they sound so natural, though one of my problems is they're not as distinct as they used to be.
See, I think they're getting more so the more I'm watching it. Though. Buttercup has a very unique sound. The more I'm hearing it, like I don't think you'll be saying that in a few weeks. Like I was there with you the first 2 days, but like,
yeah. I agree. I probably just need to get used to them.
The other voices, I am surprised by how many characters they've kept.
Yeah,
I did not expect Miss Keen to be the same actress. That's the same voice. Like I didn't look it up, but that is the same voice.
Yeah, you don't have to look that voice up. You hear it, and I'm happy to see her back because I really love Miss Keen. So it's happy to see she got promoted. I guess to the next grade when they moved up.
Sorry, go ahead.
I also do like the new villains. You want to talk about the new villains?
Let me make one comment about Mojo Jojo first, because have you seen the episode that he shows up in yet?
Yeah, the Slumber Party episode?
The Slumber Party episode, yeah. So, Mojo Jojo has only had basically a cameo so far, but when I saw him and the fact that he is exactly the same as he used to be, it completely sold me on the entire show. I was still a little bit unsure about some stuff, and as soon as I knew that they were not gonna touch Mojo Jojo, I was cool with whatever they did, because you can't screw with that character. I mean, again, I don't mean to be a purist. I guess I could maybe see a newer version that I ended up liking, but like, I was just so happy to have exactly the same Mojo Jojo, and the voice is the same, and he sounds perfect, and he hasn't aged too much. The professor sounds older.
He does. He sounds a little slower and older, unfortunately.
Yeah,
they probably should have recast him.
And the narrator sounds that way too. I think the mayor's fine.
Well, that's Tom Kenny. Tom Kenny is the king of voice acting right now. So I mean, I think he got. I can't remember if he got his start with Powerpuff Girls. Or not, because he was a stand-up comedian and actor, and he still is, but, he really took off the voice acting with Powerpuff Girls and SpongeBob, where he's just all over. I mean, God, he's on, 8 out of 10 shows.
Oh, is he in that many? That's hilarious.
He's in I just pulled that out of the air, but he's in a lot of shows. I mean, he was in the Batman, for an example. Let's see, where he played the Penguin. He was in one of the he was one the Transformers show, Transformers Animated, where he played Starscream. He's in a lot of stuff, so I guess it would have been impossible not to cast him.
But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about new villains if you want to. Some of them are seem like classic Powerpuff Girl villains to me, and a couple of them are throwaway. I don't need to ever see those people again. What do you think?
A couple of them are a hit and miss. Man-Boy is exactly like an old classic Powerpuff Girl villain.
See, he's one of the ones I don't need to ever see again, though.
Man,
that episode, that didn't do anything for me. The writing is funny.
He totally 100% reminded me of one of their old villains. Like
he seemed like a knockoff, though. That's the problem, is that he's not a classic villain, he's a knockoff. You could do almost, and I mean, okay, he's got this gimmick of, I'm all about being a man, but, he's kind of Fuzzy Lumpkins all over again, in a way.
I don't know.
Kind of. And I think part of the reason I'm saying that... But part of the reason I'm saying that is because that episode is patterned a lot after the original cartoon episode that got Powerpuff Girls greenlit in the first place, and I think they might have done that on purpose. It's the first one they aired, and it reminds me a lot of. So that was a Fuzzy Lumpkins episode, and it's the one where he's got the meat gun and he turns one of Bubbles' pigtails into a drumstick, and I'm already thinking about that with this villain, and then all of a sudden they have the army of steaks. And it just I think that they're
the army of steaks actually reminded me of the alien
broccoli
that looked like broccoli.
The broccoli, yeah. They didn't just look like, they were broccoli, and that was all about trying to get the kids in the show to eat their vegetables.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I loved about that episode. it's kind of horrifying.
Oh, it is. It's terrifying. Yeah, but they homaged that episode all over the way, and I don't think they ripped off. Like, the more I'm thinking about it, like, maybe he's not a direct Fuzzy Lumpkins ripoff, but I don't need Fuzzy Lumpkins and that guy.
No, you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of? He reminds me of, I think she was just a one-shot villain. The villain, I can't remember her name. She was the one who kind of, like, pretended she was a big feminist to just excuse herself for robbing banks.
Oh yes, no, she is like but she was not a one-off. She was in a few episodes. That's Sedusa, and
no, not Sedusa. God, I can't remember her name. No, she was the one. I cannot remember her name, and she's in a white outfit. With blonde hair.
I guess. Are you sure that wasn't also Sedusa?
It was not Sedusa.
Was it not?
100% guarantee that was not Sedusa.
Okay, all right. It's been. I mean, I'm a big fan of the show, but it's been a little while. I was reminded.
But my point being is he seems like kind of a flip side of that kind of character.
No, that's true. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Okay, no, it's starting to come to me. I remember. Yeah, that was a one-off. No, I'm starting to remember that. Yeah, I forgot about that. I never liked that episode very much. But it's okay. But
neither did I. And I'm not a fan of that episode either, but it's one of those episodes that sticks with you.
Yeah.
And he seems. Yeah, I made a watching that, and it was like, yeah, that's kind of like a modern. It really does feel like a modern kind of version of a Powerpuff villain. And I love his wood robot. I mean, it's so stupid.
That's true. Which is your of the 3 or 4 you saw? Which is your favorite so far?
I love the Princess episode you referred to just a few minutes ago. The debut, the Derby Taunts episode.
Oh yeah, that was pretty funny. With paintball.
Where Princess. Oh my God, that was so great with Deathball.
Oh, Deathball! No, excuse me, Deathball.
And that episode's really well. I enjoyed that episode quite a bit. It has like a classic Princess plot where she's trying to join and destroy the Powerpuff Girls. And I really like the relationship Buttercup had with the Derby Taunts, because once she escaped them, they kind of realized, like, hey, this girl's really cool, and we were just taking checks from Princess. They turn out to be not so bad. I love that bit where they're making pottery and hitting each other in the head with it. Yeah,
so far, I'm starting to get the sense that this show could get really sophisticated.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping what we're seeing is kind of the introduction to new fans and old fans.
Yeah,
and get us acquainted as they get comfortable doing this.
Yeah, it's watching like a transition between the old show and what this new show is going to evolve into, because it's already as bizarre and silly and absurd, but also less nonsensical and all at the same time. And that show had a variety of kinds of episodes where sometimes it would get absurd and silly to the point of, like, we didn't really even try to tell a story. It was just a bunch of weird, silly stuff that happened. Every episode so far, and this is maybe a little bit formulaic, but every episode so far has had some kind of moral of the story. There's been a character arc in every episode, and they're a little bit heavy-handed, and 80s Saturday morning cartoon. But the difference is, Powerpuff Girls would make fun of that, and like original Powerpuff Girls would do this thing a lot, where you would have one of the girls learn something, and then at the end of the episode, they're just like, they learn something about, like, not being violent, and then they would just beat the crap out of somebody at the very end. They didn't really learn anything. This show isn't doing that. Like it's always like a real lesson, and I can't decide if we're making fun of moral lessons or if we're just straight up doing them. And I think we're kind of doing both of those at the same time so far.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I've been thinking of when I've been watching these episodes, is we're watching this weird cycle go through right now, because Powerpuff has obviously influenced a lot of the shows that have been on Cartoon Network right now, Adventure Time and Steven Universe. But the people who are creating this show are fans of, like, Powerpuff Girls and have come out of Adventure Time and Steven Universe.
Yeah.
So now those two new shows are kind of, and some of the other Cartoon Network shows are influencing on this show. So we're getting an interesting. It's almost like an evolution of shows. Like the original batch of Cartoon Network shows were a little more jokey and satirical, where I probably call this, the next generation of Cartoon Network shows.
Yeah.
And, they have a little bit, some of those shows have a little bit more insight, a little bit more depth into character. And sometimes, episodes are, even regular show, which is a bizarre comedy show, has episodes where they really dig emotionally into their characters. And I think we're probably going to see that influence on this show. And I think that's exciting. I'm excited to see that done with
I
Powerpuff
think
Girls.
they're giving us little hints of it already. And because original Powerpuff Girls, I've always said this. I mean, I've done a top 10 list and I reviewed the movie. I've always said that the Powerpuff Girls are three aspects of one character. You put them together and they're a whole person. But individually, they're kind of archetypes, but they're more like a particular personality aspect of one person. This show, each of the girls has the prevailing character traits they always had, and I can already see inklings of, we're going to keep those, but we're going to develop them to the point where they're all three different people, and they won't feel like, and you can even maybe get to the point where you do episodes with just one of them and the other two aren't even there. I mean, I don't know if they'll ever go that far, but I'm already seeing inklings of that depth, especially with the stuff they're doing with Buttercup, and like I don't even know yet if it's supposed to be a rigid continuity where we're supposed to remember everything that happens or not, because Powerpuff Girls wasn't that. It was more of a continuity than say like Dexter's Laboratory, because that show you would have endings of episodes where like the whole universe explodes, and then the next episode they're just back to normal again. This Powerpuff Girls had a loose continuity where you would remember things, but it was much looser than say The Tick, which had like a very rigid continuity, but what was episodic as opposed to archy. Powerpuff Girls would do weird things like Blossom gets ice breath powers, and then at the end of the episode she loses them, and then forevermore she has them. I don't know why, but like she lost them, but she has them forever. But anyway, so I'm getting the sense that this show's going to be a little bit more sophisticated. Did you see? Which one was it? I'm looking at the episode list right now. Did you see the one where they go to Monster Island?
Yes, that was the first episode. I really enjoyed that episode, actually.
They got me with that. Well, when I saw the episode title, I was floored, because I went, okay, these people know they're Powerpuff Girls. I mean, that's it. Like they get it. We go to Monster Island in, like, the third episode. It sounds like I saw them in a different order than you did, but I thought that was, like, third or fourth. But whatever. Anyway, we go to Monster Island in your first batch of episodes. That was a thing that was brought up in I know what it was. It's one of my favorites. It's one you like a lot too. It's the one with the Spawn parody. With the girls are trying to be comic book heroes, and at the end, that's one with actually sort of a character arc. Where at the end they realize that they're fine just the way they are, and the superheroes they already are. But you have this monster that goes on this whole diatribe at the end, where he's like, look. Every year, Monster Isle sends a monster, and we're supposed to fight the Powerpuff Girls and see if we can survive. And then we go back to Monster Island and we have a big party. And we never went there. I don't think. Maybe we did. But this show, we like go there in a really early episode. They know their stuff, and they've kept a lot of the iconography and the really fun little details and nuances of characters and stuff. The episode that aired yesterday that I haven't got to see yet is called Little Octi Lost, so they're already doing something with Octi. We've got Bubbles, stuffed animal. Bubbles has already spoken Spanish. The mayor has his pickle fetish, and they have taken the pickle fetish to like Cloud 11, dude. Like, he's got, the first time you see the mayor, he's got a pickle museum, and it's a skyscraper.
The first time I saw him, he's like shooting pickles like arrows off at one monster, and he just really likes to taste the pickles.
That's where they introduced him. Yeah. Oh man. But like they've got all that stuff. It's great. It's exciting.
The first time I laughed out loud was that episode, actually, where they took out that monster bird and it's slowly descending, crashing, and it explodes in midair. That had me. It's like, okay, you got me.
I'm also really digging the social commentary and digs at adult stuff without going so far that kids can't watch it, where it will, and this is vintage Powerpuff Girls, it will get disturbing and deal with some adult stuff, but it walks that line really well. And probably my second favorite episode so far is the one with the candy hangover.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
yes, I did.
Oh my God! Is that the stayover?
Parody.
That's the stayover. Yeah, it's a hangover parody. They have a candy hangover, and they wake up and they can't remember what happened the night before, and Bubbles is missing, and they're like, "Where is she? We have to retrace our steps." And the end of the episode did one of the like weirdest, like kind of dark things I've ever seen Powerpuff Girls do, and it didn't go too far. And I was like, that was another thing that really, where I was like, okay, this is Powerpuff Girls. They totally get it. Like, they go to an arcade, and there's a ball pit, and the ball pit is empty, and that's where they remember Bubbles being last. And the guy at the counter, really deadpan nonchalantly, is like, oh yeah, we had to change out the ball pit, and all the balls have been shredded, and they're turned into hats. And this was the first part where I laughed out loud watching these shows. They walk into the house and they're wearing the hats. and Buttercup or Blossom one, I can't remember which, says to the professor, "We lost Bubbles, and she's a hat."
That almost, you know what that reminded me of?
I love that.
Reminded me of that old Chuck Jones cartoon from the 50s where the bulldog has adopted the kitten and he thinks it got lost and like turned into cookies. And it's
yeah. Well, you're right. That is a classic cartoon thing, isn't it? Where like you think that you think that you put somebody on a conveyor belt, now they're a box, or you think that you're eating them in a sandwich. No, you're right. Like, I'm saying it's really dark, but we did this with old cartoons. But the fact that they're wearing what they think is Bubbles, that's going a little bit farther.
That's the only way they could process it. Like, this is the only thing we could do to keep her.
I love that.
That's a good
and then,
show.
Of course, there she is. But, Manos, that is as funny as nearly anything that was ever in that original show. I'm so impressed with it, and did not think I would be.
Yeah, I was optimistic about the show, and after watching the first week, I'm pretty confident with it. I'm very happy with it.
Anything else you wanted to say about it? We kind of talked all over the place, but other episodes you wanted to bring up, or we didn't talk about Painbow. There's different things, but anything else you wanted to mention?
Nothing yet. I don't think we've gotten to him yet.
Yeah.
And I am very much looking forward to him.
Can I say that
he is actually my favorite villain in the show.
Oh, really?
As much as I love Mojo, him is my favorite villain. Because he works as like a comedy villain, and he works as a real serious villain, and I adore that character, and I can't wait to get to him.
Yeah, to him. Well, he gets terrifying, and like the cool thing about him is that he does that bipolar supervillain thing where he'll be in the middle of like a really happy sentence, and then he'll break into like scary, terrifying, like it's almost a Joker thing. Like the big one I always remember is or no, he'll do it backwards. That's what makes it scary. Where he'll go. The one I remember is, "I'm the greatest mastermind on the planet." That's freaky. Like, I love that stuff. Still one of the creepiest things I've seen a villain do in an animated series, not just like Cartoon Network, just like the DC shows and stuff like that, is when he has the whole town like brainwashed and they're just mindless zombies, and he like licks the professor's face. Yeah,
I don't know if you remember that moment. That has always stuck with me. It's like, wow, that was pretty out there for this kind of show.
Those are the moments that make you remember that this was never intended to be a prissy little girl show that sells kids necklaces and earrings and stuff, and that it was made up by a college kid who was going to animation school who got drunk on the weekends and was probably bar hopping for chicks every like that's the kind of person that made that show. It was originally supposed to be called the Whoop-Ass Girls.
Yeah. And I think they changed it a couple times before they got to Powerpuff. But I mean, oh man, I loved the show.
Real quick, let me mention this since you brought up him. In Painbow, they made me think. I thought there were two potential classic villains that panda was going to be. That panda was creepy, by the way.
I thought Panda was good. I thought the panda was going to be him.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and especially when you got to the end and they broke the panda, and then it's like a little gummy bear. I thought you was going to break apart and it was going to be him. But even before that, I thought it was. I thought this was going to be a reinvention of Rainbow the Clown.
I didn't know where. To be honest, I thought the entire time we were going to be dealing with him. That episode. So I didn't even think about Rainbow the Clown.
Well, I didn't think that once we got to the panda, but at the beginning, immediately having this big rainbow thing, I kind of expected they would bring in Rainbow the Clown and do the black and white thing, and then that's not what it was.
Yeah, I guess the panda is like a new villain. We don't know too much about that character, so I feel like we'll probably see more of him later. The panda character, and what he's about. Like, I feel like there's more to that character than we've seen.
Well, and there are some of these like supernatural, mystical villains, and I get the sense that they're maybe wanting to create more of a pantheon of those, because you put him right in with him and with the Sandman. I forget his name, but the dream guy. Like they could have a whole team up of the more occult Powerpuff Girl villains.
Oh, that would be so great.
I mean, there's a lot of places to go. I mean, it's really cool that the people making the original show were getting burnt out and it was kind of over for them, and it feels really fresh and new and exciting to me.
I would agree to that. Yes.
Okay, that's going to be it for us. I didn't mean to talk this long about this, but it's exciting to have more of it. We had a few episodes to discuss, so.
Oh, dude! If we each of us watched a few more episodes, I could probably talk about another hour.
Yeah, me too.
I really enjoyed this.
Thanks always for watching. We sure appreciate it. And Manos will be back soon with more vlogs for S.H.I.E.L.D. I will be back soon with more vlogs for Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl. And in the meantime, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm the real Manos.
See you later, folks.